Because, you know, I always tell people what happens is, man, we're having a passionate conversation and we will just say things that are so dope. And when it's time to revisit it later, you can never, it's like making a painting, you know, you never can remake that painting. It was just, that's the beauty of art. You know, we can try to recreate it, but it's never going to be the same thing.
Yeah,
You know,
that's a good point. You know, it's got to let it happen natural. No doubt. No,
is
that's
that
it.
like
Well,
your logo behind you?
congratulations. Huh?
I said, is that like your logo behind you?
No, you know what? Those are just, I like how it turned out, but those are sound tiles. So I'm in my
Oh,
office,
nice.
and
Okay.
in my office, I have my drum set and some other stuff. So it's just like soundproofing a little bit.
Bro, we gonna
But,
be
but,
good friends. I got my turntables right here. As soon as we get
all
done, I'm
right.
going to do a mix for Jay-Z's birthday. I said I'm going to try to play. He turned 50, what? I think he turned 57 or 59. I'm going to try to play 59 hits.
There you go. That's nice. That's nice. Well, congratulations to that young man getting full ride scholarship. That's not easy. To
Nah,
Columbia, you said?
Columbia, man. Columbia, the Ivy Leagues. Yeah.
That's all
Yeah.
right. And that's
Yeah.
really the purpose why we're doing the things we do. Like
Absolutely.
I'm a, you know, I teach. I have one of my former students got a full ride to Harvard.
Woo.
I have another former student got a full ride out West Coast. I cannot remember the name of the college in California.
Stanford by any
I had
chance?
huh?
Stanford by any chance?
I don't. It wasn't Stanford, but she came by and spoke to some of my students at the end of last school year and
Okay.
told them that. So that was great because she was a 2024 graduate. So
Okay.
it's dope to hear from the old students, and then they tell you their success stories. And I always invite my former students, come back, tell the young people,
Yes.
uh, you know, things you've learned throughout the last few years. Because it's one thing hearing from us old guys, right?
Right,
But it's
right.
another hearing from somebody that just went through it a few years earlier, and they can kind of share their experiences and things they learned. So I'm always inviting them to come back, talk to the young guys. You know, I'm always telling them. My
And
former,
that's kind of, it's interesting you say that because Just Inspire, our motto is lifting as you climb. And so when you say coming back, that's literally doing just that. It's telling people your story empowers somebody, you know, like they're like, I was in a school today talking to my substitute. I don't work full time. I teach, I adjunct, work part-time with the university's mentoring program, and I substitute. Why? Because I actually think it's a great way to market myself. Because every time I go to a different school, these students, like today, I think I ran up my YouTube channel, got about 30 some kids that subscribed today, right? And so I told them, if I get half the school to subscribe, you know what I can do? I can come to the principal and, you know, I can kind of apply pressure on, hey, you need to bring Just Inspire here. And you young people don't realize you got a man that's listening to you. So when you get me in your school, I can bring what you need.
right, right. And
You know?
it's about having people that are going to advocate for the kids. I
Right.
always tell myself, I'm a teacher. I'm a math teacher, full time, of course, and I teach financial literacy as well. And I'm always saying that, right, I'm trying to be a positive influence, right? I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
teach you things that I wish I would have known at your age. And one of the things that's important to me is always remember to be that teacher that I always wanted.
Shoot, brother,
You
I
know,
wish I would have had a black man teaching me math. I struggle with that subject. The closest thing I had was I had a white guy, Mr. Stevens. It was just like 1998, 99, I think, because it was 1998, because I was only in sixth grade. That's the
all
best
right,
I ever did in math. You know what I mean? And
okay,
like those male, even if it's just male role models, that stuff matters. But a black man teaching me math, that would have really been special. I probably would have really, because there's something about, because I always see with the boys when I come in there, even if they knuckleheads, there's still something about how they respond to us that's different. Even when they
yeah,
want to
because I
act
mean,
out, because
because
there's
they may
still they
be able
want
to see
you.
themselves, right? They may be
Yes,
able to see
yeah.
themselves, and I
Mm-hmm.
think too, like I think what's stressful to being a black educator at times is that when my students don't want to excel, it hurts a little more.
Bro, I had to get my first F today. I know what you mean.
Yeah, it
I had
hurts
to
a
get
little
my
more
first F for,
because
yeah.
I see my son or I see my nephew or I see my
Mm-hmm.
niece or my little cousin in their face. and I'm always trying to work through that part of it. Because they're like, I had a
Mm.
student ask me, Mr. Wright, why you care so much? I'm like, you from my community. You know, y'all are my neighbors. You're my, and you remind me of my own children. Why would I not want you to be successful? I mean, quite frankly, our young people are the future,
Yes.
right? So if we can make a positive impact today, one of my mottos for our company is called Bear Right LLC. I always say, teaching today for a better tomorrow. You
Hmm.
know, educating today for a better tomorrow. It has to be that because it's like what Frederick Douglass said. It's
I
easier
was gonna go
to teach the
there.
young.
Yes.
Well, I know that's one of the reasons I changed
Yeah.
careers and became a teacher because, like, I remember in college reading, Frederick Douglass's autobiography. That's one of those books that changed my life. Like, it
Uh,
was like this education thing matters this much, like reading his words. He Education literally set him free,
word.
like not even figurative language,
Yeah.
because he became able to read and literate. He wrote his own papers for freedom.
He actually mastered the English language. He became the most advanced English speaker. People who travel the world. I usually do a lesson on Frederick Douglass, particularly in February, through my
Yeah,
communications class because he became one of the greatest speakers. And I let all my students know he had to learn illegally.
right,
And I also tell
right.
them empathy is probably why he spoke at the women's rights speech. I can't think of the name, guys. Forgive me. Little overload here, but the reason
Women's
why he probably
suffrage.
did that,
Well, he was a,
women's
a
suffrage,
champion
right?
of the
And
women's
it was in
suffrage movement.
Niagara. I know it was in Niagara Falls.
Hmm.
And I say the reason why he did that was probably remembering, that lady teaching him how to read. That white lady would have got her ass whipped had they found out she was doing that. It was illegal.
Well, what it was too is and it made a big impact. Like I said, I was in my 20s when I read it,
Mm,
and I remember uh, the story pretty well. Still, is that
mm.
she was new to that whole slavery thing here, and
Oh,
uh,
for real? I
and
never
so
knew
she
that.
had young kids about the same age as young Frederick, so they were learning to read. And she was like, "Well, he should know how to read," and so she was just teaching them, not knowing. And what it was he overheard her husband and the lady arguing because he said, "Don't you know if you teach him how to read, he would be unfit to be a slave?"
Oh,
And so that was why it really turned that light on for him, saying, "I got to learn. I have to learn at a high level." And so when she stopped teaching them, Frederick would trick the little kids in the area to teach them. He said, "I bet you can't spell scholar. I bet you can't spell it." And then he'll spell it wrong. And they'll say, "No, that's not it." And then they'll spell it. And he learned how to continue his education. And so it was great. I mean, it's such an important story to me. Uh, it, it, he is my hero in history because um, he did so much. And I always say to myself, if people like that exist, and they could reach such high levels. He became a world-renowned speaker. He became a great author, a great orator, but advised President Lincoln and things like that, and so many other accolades. Right? If he could do that then, what's holding us back now?
mm.
Nothing. So I'm one of those people that I believe history is guides us today, and I history is like my third biggest interest. As you can hear, I love history.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Mathematics being the first, science being next, and then history. But it all to me works together
Absolutely.
because without mathematics, there's no logic, right?
Right.
Without logic, we don't have science. And history allows us to analyze all the ills of the good and the bad of the past, right? And then
Right.
hopefully we can apply that logic we learn in math and the science and engineering that we learn, right? to make a better future. You know?
Yes.
Because I'm a former engineer. I was an electrical engineer, and man, I have an electrical engineering degree from Purdue University.
Okay.
So you see me, I always got my everywhere. Probably the reason the color scheme, right?
Got you. Now it makes sense.
But
Okay.
my whole basement black and gold and stuff, right? My whole basement. But and as an engineer, I'm still that because what we do, right? We take our environment, right, and try to solve problems. And my biggest passion is financial literacy. That's my biggest passion. That's what I love. As my first few years after I graduated college, I didn't like what I was doing. I was working in automotives. I have had titles of engineer or uh, production facilitator, titles like that. I didn't like it. I was working like 80, 90 hours a week, traveling, this and that. And I remember telling my wife, if I keep working like this, I don't even want to have kids because I don't want to do that to a child. Because I don't want to be the dad that's never there. So I met some people that sold insurance, and that's what got me started in finance. I'm a little older than you. That was way back in 2003. And so that started me on the path. I graduated college in the 90s, right? I'm old. It was dinosaurs walking the earth, and then here I am.
I did not think you had me like that. When you said a little older than me, I'm thinking you graduated. Well, you graduated the late 90s, right?
From college.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I spent a few years in the engineering field and that. And the work I wound up doing, I just didn't care for. And it's okay. So I remember saying, do you guys like what you do? And they were like, we love it. And so I was in finance for almost 8 plus 9 years after that. And I enjoyed it. I really did enjoy it. And then so it was early 2000s, and then the financial crash hit. And so shortly after the financial crash, I was like, I'm out. I'm gonna do something different. And I still continued selling insurance on the side and stuff, but I became a financial advisor and a banker. I just kept thinking I was climbing, right?
Yeah.
But it still wasn't quite what I wanted. And I don't know what it was just an epiphany. I felt like I was just called to become a teacher. I felt like I learned a lot of different things for a reason.
Okay.
And so now in this it's been like 15 years now. I feel like all of those lessons I was learning and gathering the information and learning, it now makes me more suited to be a teacher. Because I have a lot of buckets to teach from. I can tell them how to get into a boardroom, how to get an internship, how to, I tell them stories. And our stories are really history.
Yes.
That's all history is the stories of people. And I feel like I'm able to do that and bring those real world applications to the classroom.
That's why I like being a professor. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we get out of it, right?
That's actually the carrot I used to control students. I told them today, because I'm subbing, so kids like to get rowdy. So I walk right to the front and I'm like, listen, guys, I'm not no regular substitute. I'm actually a college professor. So right now you're getting a chance to talk to somebody that you will have to pay a premium to meet in about 8-9 years. Because usually, I try to do middle schools a little bit because, like I said, I use it to try to recruit students. And usually when I tell them that, I tell them I'm gonna give y'all the same game I give my students. I'm not a teacher. These are your assignments, and this is the textbook. You don't want to listen to me, you don't have to. I can leave right now, and you can be left to read and do the assignments. Good luck if that's what you want. But I'll tell you this, because I love to do it, I'm not just gonna give you that cheap. I got some good stuff to talk, and I want to talk to those that want to listen. But those of you don't, you can go ahead and leave. I don't care. Here's the funny part. You're wasting your own money because you paid to get taught how to communicate. You got paid. You paid tuition for this class. So you want to learn how to communicate. You didn't want to just read a damn book. You could have bought the book for less than the class. It's only $200. Why pay $2,000? So,
Right.
so I'm gonna tell you like this because I know Miss talking over your head. If you went to Foot Locker for some Jordans, you wouldn't be happy just getting the strings. Nah, you wouldn't be happy just getting. Matter of fact, you wouldn't even be happy just getting the sneakers. You want the sneakers in the box with the paper in a bag. You want the whole thing because that's what you paid for. If they just threw the box at you, you would feel a little way. Or matter of fact, if they threw the sneakers at you and said go, you might feel away. You want I want my card and all that because that's what you paid for. So why do you cheat yourselves with education? You paid here for somebody to teach you. So why come here and just get the bare minimum? You sound like you scamming yourself right now. And I'm gonna tell y'all something. When I leave, you doing the same thing with these teachers. You want to come here and act up. Half of them don't even teach y'all no more, and they don't have to because you don't care. So guess what? They get to come in here, chill, get their free check, and go. And you're not learning.
Yeah.
And usually by the time that happens, a lot of them done shut down and they locked in. Like, who are you? And that's when I tell them about, Just Inspired Mentoring. I used to be a school counselor. I'm currently a communication professor. I teach at the college level. I think communication skills is one of the things one of the most important soft skills. You can be really smart, but if you can't communicate, you're going to be hindered. You may not be that smart, but if you can communicate, you'll go far. We see a lot of people every day, don't we, that are not that smart in really, really high places. Why? Because they got communication skills, like it or love it. That's how that happens. That's how that happens.
I love telling the story of Oprah Winfrey to young people.
Go ahead.
I always ask them, do y'all know how Oprah became
Right.
famous? Do y'all know? And then most, I teach middle school, so they don't know the story.
Right.
And I'm always like, she was the best reader.
Oh, I ain't really get that either.
She read the script and she delivered the information in such a way that was captivating. And that's why she became who she is. She could tell a story and make people want to listen to it. And so in her audition, she was the best reader, the best orator, the best communicator, to your point.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's a billionaire.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So that Oprah story fits right in with what you say to your students. Like the kids, I have a classroom, library, and I'm a math teacher, but I got literacy. You know what I mean? I focus on a math vocabulary. Every day they come in, there's a word of the day. And usually it's based on a lesson, but still, sometimes it's just a general word like, what does evaluate mean in mathematics? And kids are like, I don't know. They're telling you to solve the problem. I say, see, and I tell them like this. I say, they can make math sound difficult. All they got to do is say, evaluate the following quotients. And if a kid don't know what evaluate means, he don't know what it means to solve. And if a kid doesn't know that quotient is to find the answer to a division problem, they cook. And then they'll throw them all in fraction form, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the kids is like, and they stuck. Whereas if you know the language of mathematics, it's easy. You've been doing division since you was in 3rd and 4th grade or whatnot. And then they go, oh, that's all. And so I use language, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because what I try to tell them is now that with Common Core and other standards, they made the math way more literacy based than it ever was. Back in the day, you get your list of 30 problems, you do the problems, you get an A in math, right? Now it's word problems from jump. And the kids are like,
Because
like,
they don't read, period. They just watch
they
everything.
They don't even want to read the directions. And so it's like once we get them to where they start loving reading, it's just like that Frederick Douglass thing. Literacy leads to freedom. It leads to actual, because now once you can read at a high level, you can learn anything.
It's interesting you said that because I've been trying to start a book club, but I wanted to go with the autobiography of Malcolm X. But the way you describe the autobiography of Frederick Douglass, I feel like especially in Maryland where he's from, I feel like maybe that's the book that we start with. And I've never read that myself, so it would be kind of cool to read that with some young people together.
I got my hands on, it was like a book rescue I went to one time. Got my hands on like 22 copies of the
Whoa.
autobiography of Frederick Douglass. So it's in my attic. I haven't taught history in a long time. My first year teaching, I taught history.
Mm-hmm.
So this is back in 2010. My first whole year by myself after I got my cert, 2011. I think it was 2010, 2011 school year. And I got that, and we did it, and I made sure that I taught them about Frederick Douglass. And
No, like I have a book club, and I like literally design almost kind of like a course where we even do a trip to New York City and go to the Malcolm X museum and have dinner in Harlem and just kind of reflect on the reading and being in the Autobahn, and where his final steps were, and just how the book, because how you describe the autobiography of Frederick Douglass is how I usually describe Malcolm X. How that book changed me. I mean, I think I was already on the pretty solid, but that book really made me look at life and like with a more seriousness.
and you know what? That was another one.
Yeah.
I read that one too. Again,
And
I
just
took
the
this.
ability from one man to become the worst of us to literally become the best of us, like that messaging. I just feel like enough young people don't know that or hear that. I mean, I
That
was
was a very
previously,
important.
yeah.
I got that. Is that right here? I'm trying to see if it's right on my shelf. It can't be too far. But yeah, autobiography of Malcolm X, that's another one. Was
Yeah.
extremely important to growing up because like you said, his complete transformation, how he became go from like a because he didn't know, right? You don't know what you
Mhm.
don't know.
Right,
And
right.
you see in that street life, and that's what you see, and people thinking that that's all it is to life, because that's they look growing up just seeing all that, and then once you get enlightened, I like to say this. I'll say it like this: once a mind expands, it never goes back to being the same,
Hmm.
and that's what it is.
But
Once you
you can't unknow it. That's
can't
the curse of
unknow,
knowledge. You can't go back to it no more. You can't like you
no,
can't.
there's no way,
Infinite curse.
there's no
Yep.
way, and that's why I was proud when I was able to finally publish my work because it was kind of a life dream to me. Like I go
Hmm.
from being a young man. I always like math. That
Hmm.
math is what made my life go. My whole career, everything I've done, mathematics been a part of it. But I tried my best to focus on the reading because that was my weakness. And so
Right.
that's why in college I forced myself to take classes. I was an engineering major. I didn't have to take classes making me read like this. Like the
Hmm.
autobiographies that we talked about, history books and things like that. The reason I can teach history, and then when I was my first job, I was qualified to teach history, even though I was an engineering major, is I took a whole bunch of extra classes that made me read
Hmm.
on purpose because I wanted to become well read. I was like, I'm not
Nice.
gonna go to college and still be at the reading level or whatever I was. Because if I didn't get into school, it would have been because of my reading scores.
Oh.
My math and science got me way here, and then my
Hmm.
reading scores was dragging me down like an anvil.
See, I was the opposite.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so I had to work on that. And so just like you said, we work on it, right? Once I knew that I needed to do something about it, I
Hmm.
set out to do it. So for me to become an author, it's almost like it was a life dream of mine to write a book, no matter what type of book,
Hers. I
because
understand.
of where I came from, how I started out, how that was a struggle for me, how I didn't like reading, and I was like, I want to turn that into a strength one day. And even us talking like this, I was a
Mhm.
real quiet young man. I didn't want to stand out like that. I didn't want to. And I said, I can't live like that. I have to let my voice be heard. I have to go ahead and share the stories that I've seen and stories I went through so that other young people can benefit. it's almost like a disservice if we keep our stories silent.
I'm almost overwhelmed because I know I told you I wanted to be organic, but it's just, to me, it's almost uncanny how you just drive this conversation and you just hit so many things. So, I mean, talking about being an author, I created an agenda book, but I made this for men, as well as a journal I've done as well.
Okay. It's
Um,
amazing.
but I made these for men because I always say when it comes to journaling and writing, you know, they have the passion planners and all that. And I use some of that stuff myself, but I always feel like nobody ever made something for me to write. And there's so much power in when a man writes, you know, like I think of the superior man, you know, as a man, think of, you know, what if somebody created something that really poured into that energy and gave you an outlet with prompts to encourage you to write more? And so I designed these two things. And ironically, when I was talking to one of my friends about the agenda book, we looked at the first page and I had a vision board with these 6 circles. And from those 6 circles, man, I developed something, a framework. I call it the 6 circles of purpose. And it's how I mentor young men, our men, you know, to find your purpose, you know, why you're here. And I kind of, it's not religion based, but I did say I felt like 6 leading to the 7 kind of gives it some kind of divine intervention, how like God created the world in 7 days. I mean, 6 days. Well, it was 7, right? He rested on the 7th, but still it was 6 days to do the work. Thus, I feel like for a man to find your purpose, which really is your inner God, these are 6 things that you need to do, that you need to have. Thus, why it's a vision, right? In their health, career, relationships, travel, finances, and your spirituality, what you believe in. You know what I mean? What you stand on. But so when you so when I met you, you know, in Chicago, and you said you were financial literacy, that went out, my light bulb went off like, wow, like you represent literally one of that's a core thing with Just Inspired, you know?
Man, and like it seemed like we were just supposed to talk
Yeah.
about it, you know, because we was a happy occasion, but it's like, you know, but at the same time, this work is so important. I always um feel like I'm in a Titanic with a bucket, man, and they telling me, go ahead and get this water out of here. I'm like, hold up, it's too much. I need some help with this.
What kind of
You
help would
know,
you
so
say?
no, it's nice to talk to like-minded people, you know.
Would you, if you said there was help, because I know from my experience, it always seems like there's not enough of us, um, especially not in the right places. Like I was at a school and there's a lot of brothers there, but I be telling them, yeah, but we need brothers like in administration, like the counseling department. That's an intricate role in the school. There's no brother there. That to me is always a sign of like, because the school counselor does professional development. So
Mhm.
if you have a black man that's doing the professional development and you got a whole bunch of brothers working within the school, I don't care if they're hall monitors. We know how we do. We all gonna talk to each other. So now y'all are feeding me the information. Thus, I can go on my level and create greater developments that can thus help the whole school. But when we don't have that, we're not. It's like we putting the soldiers out there with no lieutenant to lead. It's not working
Mhm.
right.
Yeah, I mean, because you do have a lot of young men respond better
Mm-hmm.
for whatever reason. I mean, I remember being again a newer teacher, and I made an observation, and this one hit me. It like hit me right. It was like a gut punch, because that's why I like teaching kids. They tell you the truth,
Right.
and and my class, I was kind of new, you know, first couple years, maybe it's my 3rd year teaching. It was within my first 5 years teaching. And I was new to the school. That's what it was. It was my second, yeah. So maybe my 3rd year teaching. And the kids would act up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then and I'm not a big person bring up race. I really don't, because it's not a me problem, right? Like
Totally get you.
I
I know where you're coming from.
I didn't start racism. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like I don't. That's not, I want it. I want, if it over tomorrow, I'd be happy about that, right?
Yeah.
But so a white teacher comes in and they straightened up. And then he
Oh.
left and they started acting crazy. I said, why'd y'all do that? I said, why'd y'all do that? And they're like, what? Because they didn't know that teacher any better than they know me. Right? It was the beginning of the school year. Why did y'all do what you just did? And we had a conversation. And I was like, when that teacher walked in, y'all straightened up. I was like, are y'all racist? Now, most of the kids were black kids. 99%. I think I might have had one child of Latinx origin.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else African American. And I said, why'd y'all do that? You racist? They're like, of course not. Blah, blah, you know. I said, so why did you act different? And they analyzed it. One of the young men, he's probably 22 years old by now, 23, something like that. He said, well, you're a black man, and black men always leave.
Always leave.
Yo,
Uh,
so you probably won't be here long. And I looked them kids in the eye, I said, I'm not going nowhere. I'm gonna be here. And I of course was there that whole school year, was there for I stayed at that school for a few years.
yeah.
But it was deep though. It was one of the most like I said, it hit me like right there. I was like, that's a big root cause of the problem, isn't it? The perception. And a
Absolutely.
child's perception is their reality. That's their perception. That is their reality. But anybody's perception is their reality, right?
Of course, of course.
So how are we being perceived, right? And me and you talking like this, they would say, well, those two are the exception. Why is that the perception of being a black man?
I always argue that, like, what is your standard, and what informed that standard?
Right. Right. I don't
Because
know,
I don't
because
think
it's
we are
even
the exception. I think we are kind of, if not the standard, this is what it should look like. I think I tell students all the time, a lot of the other stuff y'all are doing is you just got that from the TV. That's called pop culture. That's programming. You're not a leader. Everybody
right.
on TV got the same outfit. Me and a friend of mine had this conversation today about two popular culture icons, Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, and Carlton. And how I tell people, we always looked at Will Smith, the leader, and Carlton, the joker. But the reality is it's different. Carlton was the leader and Will Smith was the follower. I said, that's why, remember the classic episode where they go into the hood and what does Carlton do? He becomes the lieutenant and starts organizing everything. You want to know why? Because he feels confident. He's acting just like his father. His father runs things. So he's programmed to do the same thing. It's his heritage. So when you put him in an organization, first thing he's going to do is apply that. It almost got him in trouble because he was about to go to a park and walk into something that he had no idea because he's too much of a leader. That is when Will Smith being a follower paid off because he knew what was going on so he could save him from himself. But all
That's
through I always
interesting.
tell people, you look at Carlton's interest in music. It's not because he's corny, it's because he's informed. I tell students all the time, y'all don't even know, but some of your favorite rap songs sample classic music because your favorite rappers were raised in a household where that music was played, so they're cultured and they know it. You only know the radio because the people around you, that's all they know. So you think this other stuff is weird, but in reality, those are classic records. What are you talking about? You go to other people that really love music, they know that stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, honestly, it's interesting because the culture, as you see the young people now, it seems like it glorifies, right, all and everything negative.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, why is that? You know, I mean, I like to challenge my students to think. I think that's the most important thing we can do as humans, right? And I'm like, I always start the class and I say, what's some good things going on? What's some good thing? Who got something good to say? And there's one or two hands. I can lead that. I ask that question every morning, every class period. Tell me some good things, just like the old song. Tell me something good, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's only always one or two kids, maybe 3, 4. But I always mention, I say, if I ask you something, y'all to tell me something negative, almost every hand will go up. I want you to think about that. That's just human nature.
Mm-hmm.
It's just human nature. Like negative headlines sell. Something that's negative, people want to hear about it. The gossip is never about nothing positive. They're not gossiping about that girl getting into Harvard. They
Mm.
ain't even talking about that. She got a full scholarship. And I mentioned it to them. They never heard of it. Why not? Why not? I got a little cousin that graduated from Princeton. How come she wasn't on the news enough?
Right.
Well, it won't make the news
But
at all.
if she got into a fight or something, that'd have been on the news though.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt,
Yep.
absolutely. But that young lady that graduated valedictorian of that local high school, who got a full ride in Harvard, I only know it because she told me.
Mm.
That's it. She
You
should
know,
be
it's funny.
famous.
You know,
One of,
I think about like I have friends that that have like advanced degrees, you know, doctorates, and I think about how just as black people, how we celebrate these things, or I should say how little versus and I love rap music, so this is gonna be tough, guys, but like look how Max B is being so that thing is everywhere. That was in GQ magazine. But
mm,
like, do you know less than 1% black men have PhDs?
mm,
So if we know a black man that has ascended to that, how do we not see somebody that represents less than 1%, not something magnificent, something not special to us? You know what
right.
I mean? And I've just seen, and I mean, you know, fortunately with me being in a fraternity, of course, I have access to, you know, quite talented brothers. And I mean, I got 2 masters myself and I'm pursuing the PhD. So obviously, you know, I get myself closer to that population. But in general, most of us, we don't have these kind of people around us. But I remember when I was working with the Harlem Children's Zone, this is probably 2015, maybe 2016. I had a group of boys, probably about 20 in Harlem, and I was talking to them. I wanted to do a little test. I love doing this. I want to get some data. I said, let me ask y'all something. You got 2 boys, both of them going up north. One of them is Sing, one of them going to Syracuse. They need some money on their books. Whose books is most important? Unanimous decision. I'm putting money on my man's books, man. That nigga in college, man, he be all right. And I was just like, what? What do you mean? Why is F him? He ain't leave you. He went to better himself. As a matter of fact, when your friends do better, you reap the benefits because that information can come back to you. Maybe, but why F him? He said, well, you know, and they started to talk about how really the enthusiasm is just to wrap around their guy that's down. And I said, well, listen, I have friends that have done time. You know, you can even see it on the channel. I'm not against that. And I'm all for helping brothers get back on their feet.
Right.
That's why I have a mentoring program. You know, I mentor boys and men. I'm all for that. All I'm saying is the value piece we have to really start to ask ourselves is, do you realize that we have welcome home parties for prisoners, but I don't really see a lot of graduation parties for people that graduate after college, after your first bachelor's. And the
Right.
graduate and the PhD is much harder. And I don't see a lot of people getting celebrated for it. Even lawyers,
Mm,
like I see a lot of that stuff just coming and going. And it's like these monumental people are minimized. And it goes back to the pop culture, how we minimize like the real artists and we prop up these people that are really caricatures of who we really should be, but they become our standards.
but is that by design though? Right. I
We know
believe
that's not
that's
design.
the
We know
kind of the
that's not,
overall.
yeah.
If it doesn't fit into the paradigm of what society has made us out to be, right?
Mm.
Then it's kind of, oh, that's the exception, or that's, oh, that's so. Like, I think about the people I grew up with. Like when I moved out here, moved out to the suburbs when I was in middle school. And that's the reason why I teach middle school, because
Mm.
I always thank my family for essentially saving my life, by moving me out here. Like my mother and my father divorced when I was a young man. I was like 8,
Oh, okay.
11 years old. They was like, he and his sister can't stay out here. And so they moved. So my stepmother, who I love because she could have been like, nah, but my father was like, I have 2 children and they need to live with us. So they bought a bigger home to make sure that could happen because she had 2 children. Long story short, man, that move right there, my whole family worked together to make that happen. My mother, as much as it hurt her to have her babies leave, and you know, that was the best move. And I always say that saved my life.
You
I
know, it's
already
funny you
know it.
say that 11
I
because
already know it
that's
because I
around the
was just
age.
the same
Yeah.
kid. Yeah, I was just the same kid. And a lot of my old friends got locked up.
Mm,
Uh, my favorite cousin got murdered when we was 20. And this story, I got to tell you this.
please.
I'm 20 years old. I'm at Purdue University. The, that's the school that my grandmother tells me I told her when I was 7 I was going to be an engineer from Purdue. Because I liked space when I was
Okay.
little. I loved Star Wars. Star Wars
Mm,
was the thing when I was little.
dope. And you took
Biggest
that
thing.
into space. I love that. That's
Super
amazing.
dope. And I was
Yeah.
like, and when I learned and this is what I think it was, because I've known this forever, is that Neil Armstrong was the first man in the moon, and he had an electrical engineering degree from Purdue. I said, I'm going to do that.
That's fire. That's
I
fire.
said,
'Cause I
I'm
never
going to
know
do
that,
that.
but that's how you know you really on it. That's what's up, man.
And it was the only college I applied to. When I got in,
It's called
I
purpose.
accepted immediately. I didn't even look at nothing else.
Yeah, you know what
I
you
didn't
wanted.
apply to not one other college undergrad. I applied there. When they said yes, I went.
Yeah.
No
You know, I'm gonna
question.
share with you a quote I learned from Michael Jordan. I think yesterday he was doing an interview, and he tells the guy how when I was 6, I was playing baseball. I ain't played basketball until I was 12. And he says, I got cut off the team my sophomore year. But I did the math. That would mean that 16 he still wasn't that good, but by 24 he became the GOAT because people argue that between those years that's where his greatest season is. But the point of this is from 12 to 24, he goes from a novice to the best in the world.
Yeah.
It takes you 10 years to typically master something. So 2 more for him, not only master, but to raise it to another standard. But the
Wow.
quote is this. He says, because the lady says, people are like, people, kids are chasing you. They want to be like you. He said, yeah, that's the game right there. That's the trick. You chase something, you might never get it. But if you pursue something, you change your attitude, you put the work in, the time, it's bestowed upon you. He
That's
didn't chase
interesting.
being the GOAT. He just worked. He wanted to become the greatest of all time. That's why he got up early and went. That's why he stayed late. Look at Sebastian Telfair, who we see he's in prison right now. Sebastian didn't want to be a great basketball player. He just wanted to make money. And that's why he became broke, because money will leave you.
That's why I try to tell young people,
Mm-hmm.
if you chase money, it almost runs away from you.
Yes.
You have to do things that attract money. You got to do things and that's just a basic principle just in life in general. Is
Yes.
if you law of attraction, if you will, with financial literacy. And here's the plug for that book. Here's
Oh, that's
mine.
coming to work.
but it's the truth. You have to do the things that and fall in love with the process.
Yeah, that's what
Right?
it's all about. It's
It's
about the
falling in
journey,
love with the
not the
process.
destination.
It's do the right things long enough for it to work. And once you get a little something, you can't stop doing the things that worked. You have to continue that process. Why? Because that's that's just the law of attraction. It's financial literacy, quite frankly, is about doing the right things long enough for you to not only reach your goals, but to continue reaching your goals, right? Because success or anything is not a destination. It's really a journey. It's like we have to love the process, right? So when you acquire assets, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like you should want to. I like to say it like this: if you like Jordans, right, or if you like Nikes, why don't you own the stock in Nike?
Mm.
For the price of the shoe, you could buy a couple shares. If you like it, that's not meant to be a recommendation on what to purchase, but it's like if you like something that much, right, that you'll sacrifice like almost eating because those things are expensive. Why don't you then buy some of the shares to become an owner of that corporation. See, my hope is that we start to shift from just being consumers to actually wanting to own, to being like, hey, I want a part ownership of this. Look for
That's why everything I wear,
corporations.
I got my logo on there because my mind,
Look,
yeah, I
I'm
like,
wearing my shirt. This is my clothes.
yeah.
I don't like wearing somebody else's
I'm
logo.
about to say the same thing. It don't fit right me no more. Like, you know.
The older I, because at the end of the day, this my brand. That's
Right.
your brand.
Yeah.
It's ironic, and we didn't plan that out. We didn't plan that out, but it's like I said, it's nice talking to like-minded people because media will have you think that it's few and far between.
Yeah.
But as we start to connect these webs, you start to find out. Because like you said, PhDs, my neighbor, black man with a PhD.
Look at that.
That's my next door neighbor. And great guy, sociology professor.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So great guy. And but that's the thing, man. The more we start to make these connections and we start to take, all right, well, you're doing mentorship out east, right? I'm doing financial literacy teaching here in the Midwest, right? Chicagoland. There's other people doing work all over the country. But they will have us thinking people are just not trying.
Right.
That's not the case. It's not the case. It's just we have to get the message out there. It has to become popular to I
To the
don't
youth.
know,
Yeah.
knowledge. I
Yeah.
always say I want they're bringing back all kind of trends. How about they bring the straight age trend? So the trend, the
You know
trend
what I
to
want to like reading. Like I remember when I was a kid, the book it thing where you read books and then used to go to the pizza shop. I used to love going to Pizza Hut with my mom after reading my book reports. You know what I
me
mean?
too. Yeah, I mean, I didn't always get it, but when I did get it, I did like it too. I remember that, and that was
Yeah.
cool. When I did get it, I was like, man, I'm gonna go on and read these books. But you know what I think was interesting? Like my stepsister, she's like 2 years older, a year and a half, one school year older though. And she could read books so fast. And it would take me weeks,
Well, I
right?
was gonna tell you, the more
With
you
the
read,
same book. And so, but what I thought and when I got older, I kind of realized that didn't matter.
oh, for real?
Like
Okay.
it didn't matter because if I kept at it, I could get the same goal. And so I stopped being embarrassed about it. And then I said, it's okay. I'm gonna keep working at it. But see, a lot of times kids now, they get so embarrassed if they struggle at anything. And then it can be on social media. And then it can be and that embarrassment can't leave my house back in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah.
And now it can be broadcast everywhere. And so kids have they got it tough because they get shamed like in the group text or they get shamed in the and it's like, man, kids are brutal.
I try to tell
And
kids though, you can block all that. That's all you gotta
yeah,
do. Hit that block button.
yeah,
And as much as you think those people are your friends, anybody that's hurting you is not really your friend. Because
no,
if somebody's hurting you and you tell them to stop and they don't, you do best to get them out your life. So sometimes maybe this is you pulling the sword out faster than you wanted to, but hey, at least it's not in no more.
that's good. That's good advice for them because, you know, man, being an educator and you hear these, and I'm just like,
I
do
mean, I
not
remember the
treat
first time I
people
seen
like,
cyberbullying where
mm,
kids were so stressed out they had to be pulled out of their parents' cars to come into the building because they were so just vexed about what was going. And in my mind, when I first seen it, I'm like, yo, why are you going into this phone and like going back and forth? Like, but then again, I'm realizing at 20, at that point, 30 something years old, I grew up at a time where if I was getting into it with you, it's in the back of the bus and we got to verbally go with each other. I
right,
can't contextualize literally texting you to the point that you're hurting me and I continue to go back. I'm just not doing
right,
it.
right. But see, we remember a time with
Yeah.
those things didn't exist.
Those analog and memories is important, and they don't have them.
They don't have them. They don't have them. So it's real interesting. So I think about young people, man. I'm glad that you're an advocate for them. I try to advocate for young people because a lot of people like to blame young people for the problems of young people. They
No,
didn't make this environment. They didn't ask. No child ever asked to be here. For one, they didn't ask to
right.
be here, and for two, they didn't create the environment they was born in. And so it's like all we can do is that once they're here, right, is hopefully they find a good mentor program, have a good teacher, have some good positive influences so that they can navigate through all of this nowadays. Because right now, I see a lot of hurt young people.
Hmm.
And it's not like I could just call some 1-800 number and help them all. I'm a mandated reporter, but it's like, what do you report?
Mm.
It's like you just can feel the pain that they feeling.
Oh,
You
I
know
used
what
to
I
be a school
mean?
counselor, man. So
Yeah.
I've had to do some reporting. I mean, I seen the kid. He's the cutest little guy, man. But man, he had a way about him. And his mom would come up there and she literally take him right across the street, and she was wearing him out and bringing him right back. But he would still act out. And I'm just like, man, come on, man. Like, you don't see what's happening here, man. Like, your mother does not play, man. But it got to a point where we was like, listen, you can't do this no more. Like,
Right.
you're gonna have to figure out another way. It's not working because his behavior ain't changing. So we need to do something else. All right. But
Right.
we can't, we're not turning no more eyes. All right. We gonna have to
Exactly.
do what we don't want to do because we don't want to break no homes up. But look, obviously this doesn't work. You need to figure something else out, and it needs to start now. Do you want us to help you? You want to consult? But yeah, you know what I mean. And I try to tell a
Yep.
lot of folks that, like, the crux of the matter is your kids don't know any better. So your child is struggling with something, and so to beat somebody because they don't know something is really barbaric behavior. It's savage.
Yeah. It's like you got to teach them something. Like,
Yeah.
because the thing is, right, knowledge is kind of power. And once they
Hmm.
start to believe in themselves at a high level, and they start to have some small wins, just like I used to tell myself, my older son, he graduated from college,
Hmm.
and when he started having struggles in school when he was young, I was like, I know you can do it. I believe in you, and I don't care what the test score says. You have to believe you can do it. If
That's
it
right.
take you a little longer, so what? Just like I said, if it took me 2 weeks, so what? I'm gonna get that goal just like everybody else. And
Exactly.
so you struggle, yes, but that perseverance, learning how to push through that struggle is going to be your greatest asset. My man never made the honor roll. My oldest son never made the honor roll because he would always get like maybe 1C.
Hmm.
So in junior high, in high school, he would get real close. But I said, man, that hard C is matters, man. You worked for that C. So I'm
That's
proud
right.
of it. Do you know he graduated cum laude, magna cum laude from college?
Mm.
Stayed on the dean's list for 4 years going. Never left the dean's list.
Because those struggles was preparing him for that.
And he had a full ride academic scholarship.
Mm.
Come on now. Come on now. Like, that's what I tell that to students. I'm like, I know struggle my own self, but even with my own oldest son, he knows it. And
Hmm.
the things I try to tell young people, I said, this stuff work. You gotta work it. You gotta believe in yourself at a high level. And I'm always, if I can leave any student with that, if I can teach any young person that, then I did what I'm supposed to do. And that's
I
why
agree.
I'm very dedicated to what I'm doing. Because there's a lot of things we could do to make more money, right?
Right, right.
But it's like,
But why not do it with purpose?
yeah, because it's to me, I just was wired that way. I didn't make it to the moon. I didn't quite make it to the moon, but I've been able to do some amazing things, and it was all because of education. And so that's why I think I felt so compelled, back in 2010 or whatever, when I left banking.
Hmm.
I was like, I had to give back. I got to do something with education. And I just was something about, I just was hit. You know, I do believe in God, and I do think God told me I had to do it. I feel like I still feel that way. And even in the hard days, I was walking in my car today, and I thank God for putting this task to me and maybe not somebody else, because most people can't handle being a teacher today.
Yeah, yeah,
And
no,
he's
I
kind of
totally.
built me in a way that I can. And so I remember I was walking to my car this today, and I was like, "Thank you, God, for allowing me to be able to do this, because it really is." I say that to my students too, especially beginning of the year, but I tell them often that I care about them, but that I'm thankful and honored that I get to be their teacher, because everybody don't get to do this career.
Correct. Yeah.
It really, they don't. It's not something that some people, if they wanted to be a teacher, could never do.
Right.
You know, whether they record, whether they won't pass background check, they won't. There's a whole bunch. When you said a lot of there's not a lot of black men in schools, you're right, but there are a lot still.
Hmm.
Even though there might not be a whole bunch, I'm a member of a community of black male teachers. There's all kind of organizations that do that, so they do exist. But it really is a privilege to be able to teach young people, as
I
much
agree.
as it can be difficult.
Yeah.
It is difficult. Like, I don't sugarcoat it. My
Right.
wife, she'd be like, when you getting out the class? I say, it ain't time yet. All I know is
Well,
it's not time yet.
well, I was
I'm
going
gonna
to
keep
ask,
doing it till I feel like.
do you do
Go ahead.
anything with the financial literacy at your school?
In the summers, I teach financial literacy. So in
Okay.
Illinois, it's not mandated. So what I find, there's about 29 states, and I need to see if they've included more that mandated, at least at the high school level.
Hmm.
But in junior high, it's definitely not. And in Illinois, it's not mandated at all. It's like that what they said, they passed in 2022 legislation, 2022, 2023, that made it where it can be part of a high school requirement. So they can take part of a semester in the financial literacy class to count for graduation.
Okay.
But that word can is very different than must be, right?
Gotcha.
So
Is that important for you, or how does that, I guess, impact the getting it into schools?
well, it becomes more challenging at the local level because they don't have to do it.
Mhm.
I mean,
I guess, yeah.
they can just kind of talk about it a little bit. They won't have a real curriculum. Mine is designed to be a curriculum. If you go like there's 6 sections in it, so I touch on banking, I touch on investing. I call it responsible investing, credit, understanding credit.
Hmm.
Um, but the first section is most important, and the very first lesson it asks, why is money important to you?
Hmm.
Getting to like the behavioral health side of money, why we do the things we do, why we get excited when the Amazon trucks show up,
Right, right.
why is it important? Like, I said, well, okay, man, you got all the stuff you want. Would money still be important? And I like that's the first session,
Mm.
because then we talk about it, right? Some people say no. When I do that first lesson, a lot of people, well, I teach this with young people, middle school and up. So I've taught the
Mhm.
high school kids, but I've also done it with a lot of nonprofits. A lot of
Okay.
nonprofits. I'm partnering with quite a few nonprofits, and they jump on it right away. Um, because some of them it's in their grant that they have. Like
Hmm.
when I first started this program, quite a long time ago, a large nonprofit had to have financial literacy because it was part of their grant, and they were out of compliance. That's what got me started in it.
Mm.
and that's going back more than a decade. And so I designed, and that's how it. This is how it was born. Was in the
Okay.
nonprofit space. Yeah. Yeah.
So do you really just give the book out and you don't actually do any like teaching of it, or how does it work?
I've done both. I've
Okay.
done both. Oftentimes, because that book is available on Amazon.
Hmm.
Responsible Money, Ron Wright on Amazon, and
I'm gonna
a
say I
lot
have
of
all
people
that in
just
the
order
YouTube
it. And I never met them before in my life, and they never met me, and that's okay. That's fine, right? That
Right.
happens. No, so that's a large part of it. But I've done after school programs in Chicago public schools. One school had me come out and do an after school program, and I was again like a one man band, and I was doing
Hmm.
the program, and so there's only so much you can do with that, right?
Right. Right.
So, I mean, my vision is that it becomes a national program, and it's in schools all around the country. That's where I would like to see it. But there
Mhm.
are people around the country that do use it. Like I have a teacher that uses it in Mississippi. He was like Doctor, what's his last name? Anyway, he's got a doctorate. He was like financial literacy teacher of the year in the state of
Oh.
Mississippi last year. And I was teasing him at a conference. I said, "Oh, that's because you had my book." Because I met him in a conference the year before, and he bought some copies and stuff. I was like, "So you won that award?" I was like, "Hold on," but we don't even have that in Illinois because we don't because financial literacy isn't mandated.
Got
So
it.
so it's used. People in other states use it,
Okay.
but and of course there's a couple schools here in Chicago. I got like about two schools in Chicago, and or that I know of. It could be more. I'm
Hmm.
not sure, but those, a couple that have seeked me out and we've worked together. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, and so it's growing. And that's
Hmm.
good. It's good, but my hope is that. Uh, People start taking financial literacy way more serious because statistics are not good. It's not good. It's like I
I.
forget the statistic of. Well, anyway, it's just not. And the way things are going, and
Hmm.
with everything becoming more and more expensive, it's to me more with inflation and things. It's becoming more and more important that people take their financial matters in their own hands and start teaching young people the basics, or at least the basics, but we should be getting beyond basics.
I
You know,
know. Do you travel? Because I know at the university, the MSSI program definitely has a budget for events. Maybe there's something that I could I have to take this out the video. Let me make a note of that. But that that I could definitely I mean that's why I'm there, right? Make plugs happen. I could see if I could definitely buy some copies of your book to give to students, and also maybe give you a little stipend for speaking and traveling.
well, that's definitely something I do. That is part of it because it's
Hmm.
like I was saying earlier. I can't be in the Secret Service, but I can't keep
Right.
it secret. I got to tell the stories because at the end of the day, everybody has to get better at financial literacy. I study it still. Even though
Right.
I've written a book and
Same.
things, I'm
Hmm.
always reading articles and briefings and trying to stay up to date on what's happening because if you don't, you're gonna get left behind. And so we've got we, my wife and I travel quite a bit with it.
Hmm.
Like I just got back from we were in New Orleans at a national conference. We tend to go to the national conferences that promote financial literacy because then it's like I could go to one place and talk to people from all over the country.
That's
But I
smart. I need to do
definitely,
that for mentoring.
huh? But
I
I
say
did,
that's smart.
huh?
I should do that for mentoring. I said that's smart. I should do that for mentoring. Find mentoring
Absolutely.
conferences.
You got to
Yeah,
seek out the national mentoring conferences and get plugged into those communities. That's very important, extremely important. I definitely encourage you to do that. But but yeah, no, I would come out in a heartbeat, especially for you, man. You know that because if it's something, Justin, that that can help your young people, I want to be there.
definitely, definitely. And you know what? And I look forward to it happening.
Yeah.
I think currently right now I'm just trying to be strategic and I'm trying to find schools in the Baltimore area between Baltimore City Public Schools, which I'm actually already a partner. I'm an official partner with that school district, and I'm working on becoming a partner with Baltimore County Schools as well. Although I
Wonderful.
substitute there, so I use that strategically to visit different schools, so I can see some of the needs. Like the school I was in today, they definitely could use my presence. And the
Mhm.
students even were quite responsive to me. I know
That's
one of the
great.
things, yeah. And then of course, me being an adjunct professor with CCBC, they've been putting me in a lot of high schools for doing the early college program. So that's another way that I get to tour schools, and also get to meet principals and administrators. So I think 2026 is going to be a big year where I think a lot of things are going to happen. In fact, I feel like I'm already in 2026 with some of the movement I'm doing. We're starting a nonprofit as well, Justice by Mentoring Studios, which is going to be about creating an events that curate spaces for mentoring and empowerment for boys to men. So there'll definitely be as we build that up, I definitely know we'll be doing some type of financial empowerment events and seminars, and you'll be the first name that I think of whenever that comes up.
Well, that would be great. I look forward
Mhm.
to it, man. I To
Yeah,
me it's a life work. Just because I'm trying to teach the things that I didn't know. Like
same, right? Yeah,
I, it was so much that I wasn't exposed to, and I just didn't even realize. And until I started that journey, I started that simple question, asking those guys that sold insurance if they liked it. I was at a
right.
job fair or something, and I was like, "Do you like what you do?" And they said they really did. And I started on that journey, and it really helped me learn a lot. Like
Absolutely.
I'm thankful that I did that because, a lot of people, you know, I've been asked a lot of times, how did you go from engineering to finance and being a banker to then being a teacher? And the only answer I have is I asked God what I should do.
Right.
That's
I
it.
tell people
Like,
all the time, this is my purpose. Everything else, I was probably
yeah,
delaying, or it was preparing me so that I could walk into this. Like,
right.
because I've been a banker as well. Like, so to be able to relate to my fellow man, I needed to have so many experiences. That's why I also was in the military. That's why I've been to school. I actually been to grad school 3 times. I flunked out once, so I can relate to
Okay.
somebody when they're struggling because I failed too. I also was a
Hmm.
graduate speaker, which means I know what it's like to be the top of the class to excel. And funny
Yeah,
enough, I'm a man that failed and excelled, so I can relate. You know what I mean? And but that's
right.
important for somebody that wants to mentor and talk to people. I know how to be in many different spaces. I've experienced many things, and that's probably why it was preparing me to do this work.
And the same thing, like nobody can do the work you're doing because they don't have your background. Same thing
Right.
with me. But it's like hopefully we can partner and work in the future that we can put those things together. And then
Absolutely.
now the voice now we're helping each other reach a bigger audience, reach a bigger number of people, maybe make a larger impact because it's just needed. I feel like today more than ever, um, we have to build these almost coalitions, if you will, to help young people because it's becoming to where it seems like who's gonna help them? You
It's a
know,
big job, and it's like
it's a
Malcolm
big
said, it's
job.
much too perverse for one person. We need many different, we need, many different, mindsets and practices to get involved because, I think the number is it might be like 780,000 kids in this country that report having no one to look to. And I can see the despair every time I go into a room. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that hurts, man. That hurts to hear that because it's like it shouldn't be that many kids feeling
Mm,
and going through that. Really shouldn't. Like I was saying earlier, no child has to be here. Not a single one
right.
of them ever asked to be here, and they didn't create the environment they were born in. You know, all we can do is once they're here, try to make it better. And like I want to be that person. So I'm
Absolutely.
that's why I say I'm thankful for you. I'm thankful for this time. I appreciate it because at the end of the day, your work matters. my work matters, and I know it hopefully has
Absolutely.
made the difference in the lives of young people. So hopefully we can continue that work.
Definitely, definitely. This has been an amazing talk, and this is not the this I'm going to conclude this conversation, but I want to pause that by saying this will be the first of many, because
Yeah.
absolutely I'm looking forward to the building this coalition together. I'm just inspired mentoring. I want to teach guys how to be gentlemen scholars. I now know I have Mr. Wright that I can lean on to help us in terms of giving us that financial literacy, which I've told you guys is a key component in helping somebody find your purpose. You must be able to be a steward of your finances. All right. I think I'm just going to read the quote I wrote down. I said, a man cannot walk in purpose while bound by financial chaos. It's not going to work.
Wow.
It's not going to
I
work because
like
you're
that.
never going to be thinking clear. Is if you're hungry, you're always going to be thinking about food, which means you won't have your mind on what the real prize is. You can be taken advantage of because you'll be too busy thinking of. This is what happens to many of people that we look up to. We look at a lot of these celebrities and such. They've been taken advantage of because chasing money when you money hungry.
Yep.
But if you learn like true values, like I tell guys a lot of times, when you think about certain jobs and monies, you don't even need all that. You don't even need all that. You thinking about all these. I think I heard Odell Beckham had the audacity to tell us $100 million is not enough to live off of for 8 years. Like he tried to break it down, like you're only getting like $8 million. Is if $8 million a year is not enough money to have a great living. And I told somebody, Marcus Mandana was a boxer, Spanish guy from another country, nonetheless, but he retired on 4 million. He retired on
Right.
4 million. And you won't listen to Odell Beckham tell us that 8 million a year is not enough. He really talked to us like he was a victim. Like, man, the taxes and after all that, you have to buy a couple cars. No, you don't. You don't have to buy a couple cars, and you don't have to
Yeah.
buy a couple cars that cost $500,000 each either.
Mm-mm. No, you could have got. Could you imagine having $100,000 car?
Nah, man.
You,
Well, I won't say I
I'm just saying.
can, but
No, but what I'm saying is, most
a
people
hundred
don't
thousand
have
dollar
a
car is
hundred.
not real. It's not that bad, but they be buying 3, 4, $500,000 cars,
Right.
two
And I'm
point five
saying,
million
like,
dollar homes. You don't even need all that.
a little $30,000 car gonna get you to the same place as that $300,000 car.
Yeah, I love my pickup
And that,
outside. I spent 7 on it, 7,000.
yeah,
I get
and that, and
compliments
that
on it all
what,
the time.
and it's okay.
Hmm.
It's okay. And so then that's where the financial literacy has to come in, because um it's a shame that he still feels like 8 million a year ain't enough. And that's the thing.
And,
It's never
and
gonna be enough. If you spend more than you make, it doesn't matter how much you make.
like people always say you don't know if you're in that position, but I tell people no, you don't know. See, I know you have a lot of beliefs in you. I know me, and I know that if you would have given me millions of dollars, I'm not spending it. It's going. I'm probably gonna find ways to protect it and put it up, but I'm not buying all that. I don't want to be around people I ain't never been around before. I ain't trying
Yeah.
to improve what I don't know. I'm gonna have custom suits. That's a maybe 1,000 each. That's about it. But I'm not buying no $20,000 jeans, $500,000 cleats.
Nope.
Like the stuff that he was buying was just stupid. Was just
Right.
stupid. You get
Right. And
free
it's
from
worth
Nike. That's what I would be
but
getting.
yeah, but that's why financial literacy matters, because quite frankly, if a person can't live on 8 million a year, that's a problem.
Yeah,
It
serious
really
problem.
is a problem. And you know, that's why financial literacy matters. And so I'm an advocate for it. That's why I'm trying to teach it, because it really doesn't matter how. This is something I write in the book too. It doesn't matter how much you make; it's how much you keep.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you spend every dime, and if you don't learn to respect even the smallest amounts of money, then you won't have any. I've known people who clean and like make less than $30,000 a year, and they got more money than people that make 400,000 a year.
Yeah.
And so it's all about financial literacy. And so I'm an advocate for that. I believe in it strongly. That's why I'm up here talking to you all this time. But I can't wait to come visit out in Baltimore or whatever, wherever God taking me, man. I'm gonna be there because for as long as I can, because um, it's just that important.
Definitely, it's going to take you many places because we'll be in more in we're in more than Baltimore, working
Right.
on North Carolina, working on New York. We'll see. We're trying to get back to Illinois as well. So
There you go. All right. All right. Well, man, fantastic, man. Man, thanks for having me on. Really, and
definitely,
we'll do this more. Let me know. I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm glad we were able to make time to
definitely.
do it. You're busy. I'm busy. We all.
You
But
know what? I'll let you. We'll just exchange some ideas. I'm really open to seeing how I can help. Maybe have you ever thought about maybe creating a channel for what's the name of it? Right LLC?
we're Bear Right LLC.
Bear Right. Well, Bear Right to maybe talk about financial literacy online. Maybe can help you with that.
Yeah, that'd be good. That's definitely an area I need to work on. I know it. It's like I said, man, marketing and stuff like that. That is where I have to get better because I'm just
Or you
about the
learn, or
work
like you
and
say, man, leverage partners. Like that's probably I love doing videos and all this stuff. So if it's a strong area and I can help you, and like you said, you have a huge area that's important to not only me but all the young people that we serve. Even the young man that's about to go to Columbia, Eduardo's interested in economics. There'll probably be some point that maybe you'll be able to share some knowledge with him at some point. So
absolutely.
however we can support each other, I think we got to do it.
Yep, I'm with it, man. I love it.
All right.
Sounds great.
All right, Ron. I'm gonna tell you good night, brother. Look forward to future talks. All right.
All right, will do. We'll see you soon.
Absolutely. All right,
Bye.
brother.